It was almost midnight when the doorbell rang. Lina was sitting on the couch, half asleep in front of the TV. She jumped at the sound. Nobody ever came this late. For a moment, she thought it was a mistake. Then the bell rang again, longer this time, like someone was pressing it with shaking hands. Lina walked to the door with a strange feeling in her chest. When she opened it, her heart dropped. Her twin sister, Rhea, stood there. Rhea's eyes were red and swollen from crying. Her hair was messy, her clothes wrinkled. But what shocked Lina the most were the dark marks on Rhea's face and neck. Rhea kept her head down as if she was ashamed to be seen. "Rhea, what happened?" Lina whispered. Rhea didn't answer. She just stepped inside and wrapped her arms around Lina. Her whole body was trembling. Lina hugged her tight and felt how cold she was. They stood like that for a long time until Rhea finally pulled away. She looked around the small apartment as if she wasn't really seeing it. Lina guided her to the couch and brought her a glass of water. "Talk to me," Lina said gently. "Please." Rhea stared at the glass in her hands. Her lips quivered. "It's him," she finally said, voice barely audible. "It's my husband. He lost his temper again." Lina felt anger rise through her like fire. She had never liked Rhea's husband, Adil. He was charming in front of family and friends, always smiling, always polite. But there had been signs. Little comments Rhea made. The way she flinched when someone raised their voice. The excuses about falling or bumping into a door. "How many times has this happened?" Lina asked, trying to keep her voice calm. Rhea gave a small, broken laugh. "Enough. Why didn't you tell me before?" Rhea wiped at her eyes. "I was scared and I was ashamed. I thought maybe I deserved it. Maybe if I tried harder, he would stop." "No," Lina said firmly. "You didn't deserve any of this. Not even once." Rhea's eyes filled with tears again. "He said no one would believe me, that everyone thinks he's perfect, and I started to believe him." Lina reached out and put a hand over her sister's. "Look at me." Rhea lifted her head slowly. "You are safe here," Lina said, "and I believe you." "Every single word," Rhea swallowed hard. "He might come looking for me. He always wants to control everything. If he can't find me, he'll be furious." "Good," Lina muttered under her breath. "Let him be." Rhea gave her a worried look as if afraid of what Lina might be thinking. Lina's mind was already racing. She thought about all the times she had watched shows about people getting justice. She remembered stories where victims were finally heard, finally protected. But this was not a show. "This was her sister. Did anyone else see?" Lina asked. "Neighbors? Friends?" Rhea shook her head. "He's careful. He waits until we're alone. And when he calms down, he's nice again. Says he's sorry. Brings flowers. Says it will never happen again." Her voice cracked. "But it always does." Lina felt her hands curl into fists. She took a deep breath, forcing herself to think clearly. "Do you want to go to the police?" she asked. Rhea hesitated. "I don't know. I'm afraid they'll send me back home with him. He knows how to talk. He'll say I'm overreacting. He'll say I'm emotional." Lina leaned back and studied her sister's face. The purple shadows, the small cut near her lip. The way she kept pulling at her sleeves as if she was hiding more marks. Something inside Lina clicked into place. "What if," she said slowly, "you didn't have to see him at all?" Rhea frowned. "What do you mean?" Lina looked at her twin. They had the same eyes, the same nose, the same cheekbones. Growing up, their teachers used to mix them up. Even their parents sometimes called them by the wrong name. "We look almost exactly alike," Lina said. "We always have," Rhea nodded weakly. "Yes. What if I went back to your house instead of you?" Rhea stared at her, shocked. "Lina, no. That's crazy, is it?" Lina asked. "He thinks you're alone. He thinks no one will stand up to him. What if he met someone who wasn't afraid of him at all?" Rhea shook her head, fear in her eyes. "He can be very cruel, Lina. You don't know what he's like when no one is watching." "That's exactly why I should be the one to face him," Lina replied, her voice steady. "I won't be silent. I won't hide, and I won't let him hurt you again." Rhea's hands started to shake. "What are you going to do?" Lina looked out the window into the dark night. Her heart was pounding, but her mind felt strangely calm now. "I don't know yet," she said softly. But I promise you this. He will never make you feel this small again. Outside, the street was quiet. Inside, two sisters sat together on a worn-out couch, one broken, one burning with quiet rage. From that night on, their lives would change in a way none of them could ever imagine, and for the first time, Adil would learn what it felt like to be truly afraid. The next morning, Lina woke up to the smell of tea. Ria was in the kitchen, moving slowly, every step careful. She still looked fragile, but there was a small bit of color in her cheeks now. "Did you sleep at all?" Lina asked. "A little," Ria replied. "I kept having dreams, and in every one he found me." Lina sat at the small table. "He won't find you here." I locked the door. "And your phone is off, just like we agreed." Ria nodded, but her hands tightened around the cup. Lina took a deep breath. "I thought about what I said last night." Ria looked up nervously. "I still mean it," Lina said. "I want to switch places with you." Ria shook her head right away. "No, I can't let you do that." "It's too dangerous." Lina leaned forward. "Listen, we won't do this without a safety net. We'll do it smart. We'll plan everything. We'll make sure you're safe. And I'll never be alone with him without protection." Ria frowned. "What kind of protection?" "Evidence," Lina said. "Witnesses. People who will believe us. We'll collect proof of what he's really like when the doors are closed." Ria stared at her, confused. "How?" Lina pulled out her phone. "First, I know someone who can help. Remember my old friend from college, the one who became a lawyer?" Ria's eyes widened. "The one you always said was stubborn and honest?" "Yes, her name is Hannah. She deals with family cases. She knows the system. I'll tell her everything, about you, about him, about our plan. We'll ask what's legal, what's safe." Ria looked hesitant, but she was listening. "Second," Lina continued, "we'll use what makes us special, our faces. We'll style our hair the same, wear similar clothes, and practice your way of speaking. I know how you walk, how you laugh. I can copy you." Ria gave a weak smile. "You always were good at that, see?" Lina said, smiling back. "We have an advantage. He thinks he knows you, but he doesn't know me." Ria grew quiet again. "And what about me?" "Where will I go?" "Here," Lina said firmly. "You'll stay in my apartment. You won't go out alone. Hannah will know where you are. If anything feels wrong, you call her. Or you call the police. Or you call me and I drop everything." Ria's voice shook. "What if he realizes we switched?" "Then we end the act and go straight to the police with everything we have," Lina replied. "But we'll be careful. He won't notice at first. He doesn't look at you with real love, Ria. He looks at you like you're something he owns. People like that don't pay attention to the small things." Ria lowered her gaze to the table. "You're right about that." Lina stood up and walked to the mirror on the wall. She pulled her hair back the way Ria usually did. She softened her expression, lowered her shoulders, and forced a tiny, nervous smile. "How do I look?" she asked. Ria stared at her, stunned. "You look like me?" Lina nodded. "Good, we'll practice more. You'll teach me the details. The way he likes his coffee, what time he comes home, how he talks when he's in a bad mood." Ria's eyes flickered with fear again. "And what will you do when he gets angry?" Lina met her gaze in the mirror. "I won't run. I'll hold up a mirror, Ria. I'll show him who he really is. And every second of it will be recorded," Ria whispered. "Recorded?" Lina turned and held up a small device. "A tiny camera. I bought it months ago for work. I'll hide it where he can't see. If he raises his voice, if he threatens, if he shows his true face, it will all be there. Not just my word against his." Ria covered her mouth with her hand. Tears filled her eyes again, but this time they were mixed with something else. Hope. "You're really going to do this for me?" she asked. Lina walked over and hugged her. "I'm not doing this for you," she said softly. "I'm doing this with you. We're going to take your life back, together." As the sun climbed higher outside, the twins sat side by side and started to plan. Every detail, every risk, every possible outcome. They didn't know it yet. But the quiet woman Adil thought he controlled was about to disappear. In her place, someone very different would walk through his front door. 3 days later, the switch began. Lina stood in front of Ria's wardrobe, dressed in one of her simple blouses and long skirts. Her hair was tied the same way. She was wearing Ria's small necklace, the one Adil had given her for their first anniversary. "How do I look?" Lina asked. Ria walked around her slowly, studying every detail. "You look like me on a good day," she said. "Not like the last time he saw me." Lina understood. Ria's bruises were still healing. Some marks could be covered with makeup, but others were harder to hide. They had decided to tell Adil that Ria had stayed with a friend for a few days to cool off after an argument. Now she was ready to come back, only it wasn't Ria who was going back. "Remember," Ria said quietly, "he likes his space when he comes home from work. Don't ask too many questions right away, and he hates it when dinner is late." "I remember," Lina said. "And the camera?" Ria pointed to a small button sewn on Lina's blouse. "It's working." Hana tested it. "It sends everything to a secure drive online." Lina took a deep breath. "Okay, then it's time." They hugged for a long moment. Ria's hands were cold. "If something feels wrong, you leave," Ria whispered. "Promise me." "I promise," Lina replied. "I'm not there to be a hero. I'm there to gather truth." Ria gave a sad smile. "You've always been my hero anyway." A taxi dropped Lina in front of Ria's house. She stepped out slowly, clutching the keys in her hand. The building looked harmless from the outside. Just another ordinary place with plants on balconies and children's bikes in the hallway. But Lina knew what kind of fear lived behind some normal doors. She unlocked the apartment and stepped in. The place smelled like Ria's. Perfume and Adil's aftershave. Everything was neat and organized, almost too perfect. Lina put her bag down and walked through the rooms, mentally mapping the space. She checked where she could stand with her back to a wall, where she could reach a phone. Where the exits were? Her heart beat faster, but her mind stayed clear. She put her phone on silent, just like Ria usually did when Adil was home. She placed the tiny backup camera that Hana had given her in a bookshelf, pointing toward the living room. By the time Lina finished preparing, it was almost evening. She cooked a simple meal the way Ria had taught her. Rice, vegetables, grilled chicken. Nothing special, but it filled the air with a warm smell. At exactly 7:15, Lina heard the sound of keys at the door. Her shoulders tensed on their own. She forced them to relax. She took a deep breath and reminded herself, "You are not alone. Ria is safe. Hana is watching the feed. You have control." The door opened, and Adil walked in. He looked exactly the way Lina remembered from family events. Clean shirt, polished shoes, a friendly smile that never quite reached his eyes. "Hey," he said, closing the door behind him. "You're back." Lina lowered her gaze like she had seen Ria do so many times. "Yes," she murmured. "I thought it was time." Adil walked over and kissed her cheek, then pulled back and studied her face. "You look better," he said. "You scared me, you know, running out like that." "I'm sorry," Lina replied softly. "I just needed some space." He shrugged. "Well, as long as you remember where you belong." The words made Lina's stomach twist, but she kept her face calm. "Dinner is ready," she said. "I made your favorite." His eyes lit up a little. "Good girl," Lina's jaw tightened. Behind the false smile, she felt anger simmering, but she pushed it down. Not yet. Not today. Tonight was about watching and learning. She served him dinner, listening carefully to everything he said. The way he complained about his coworkers. The way he criticized small things. Too much salt, not enough sauce, the TV too loud, the towels folded the wrong way. None of it was violent. Not in the way people usually imagine. But the constant control. The cold comments. The way he expected her to move around him like a servant. It was all there, and now it was all being recorded. As he talked, Lina nodded and played her role. The quiet wife, the careful listener, the woman afraid to make a mistake. Inside, though, she wasn't afraid. She was taking notes, and soon, she would start to turn his own behavior against him. Over the next week, Lina continued the act. Every morning she woke up early, just as Ria had taught her. She prepared breakfast, ironed Adil's shirts, and listened to him complain about traffic, co-workers. and lazy people who didn't know their place. She responded the way Rhea usually did, soft, careful, almost invisible. But behind her quiet eyes, she was working. Whenever Adil left the apartment, Lina checked the recordings. Hannah sent her short messages with timestamps, moments where his tone turned sharp, where he used manipulation, where he tried to make Rhea feel guilty for things that weren't her fault. "This shows a pattern," Hannah said in one of the messages. "It's emotional control. Even without physical marks, this matters." Lina started writing everything down in a small notebook she kept hidden in her bag. Dates, times, words he used. Every insult, every threat, every time he grabbed her wrist just a little too hard. She also began to make small changes. One evening, when Adil came home in a bad mood, he started raising his voice over something simple, the trash not being taken out. "You had one job," he snapped. "What do you even do all day?" Normally, Rhea would apologize right away. Lina didn't. She looked at him calmly. "I do a lot," she said. "I keep this home running. I support you, and I'm allowed to make a mistake sometimes." Adil stared at her, surprised. "Excuse me?" Lina kept her voice steady. "You heard me," his eyes narrowed. He stepped closer, trying to use his size to scare her. "Are you talking back to me?" Lina held his gaze. She didn't flinch, didn't step back. "No," she said. "I'm just telling you the truth." For a long moment, they faced each other. The apartment felt heavy with silence. Then something new appeared on his face, a flicker of doubt. He muttered something under his breath and walked away. Lina's heart raced, but she didn't show it. Later that night, she checked the recording. Every second of that moment was clear. His tone, his posture, her calm response. Hannah sent a message. "Good. This shows how he reacts when you set a boundary. Keep going, but be careful." In small ways, Lina began to push back. When he made a cruel joke, she didn't laugh. When he spoke over her, she gently interrupted and finished her sentence. When he criticized her cooking, she said, "You're free to cook next time." Each time, he was taken off guard. He had expected fear. Instead, he met quiet strength. And the more he lost control of the old pattern, the more frustrated he became. At the same time, Lina was building a circle around them. She made friendly conversation with neighbors in the hallway, introducing herself by name and talking a little louder than usual when Adil was nearby. "So good to have people around," she'd say. "If there's ever a problem, I know I can knock on your door, right?" She visited the local clinic and spoke to a nurse, saying she was doing a survey about how they handled reports of family problems. She made sure to mention Adil's full name just in case. She even went to his office one afternoon with a packed lunch, smiling sweetly at the receptionist. "I just wanted to surprise my husband," she said. "He's told me so much about this place." The receptionist seemed surprised. "He never mentioned being married." Those words stayed in Lina's mind. Back at home, she asked Adil about it. "So you don't talk about me at work?" she asked lightly. He shrugged. "It's none of their business." But his eyes flickered with something like annoyance. Lina understood. He liked to keep his world separate. At home, he was in control. At work, he had a different image. Slowly, she started to bring those worlds closer together. Little by little, she was setting up a stage where his true behavior could no longer hide in the shadows, and he had no idea the spotlight was moving toward him. The turning point came on a rainy Friday evening. Adil arrived home in a foul mood. His boss had called him out in front of others for missing a deadline. Lina already knew this because she had called his coworker earlier that day under a simple excuse, asking if he had forgotten his lunchbox. The coworker had mentioned the argument without thinking much of it. Now Adil slammed his briefcase on the table. "This day is ruined," he muttered. Nothing went right. Lina set a plate of food in front of him. "Maybe tomorrow will be better," she said calmly. He glared at her. "It would be better if people did their jobs." "My boss, my team?" He waved his hand. "And my wife." Lina met his eyes. "I do my job," she said. "And I'm not here to carry your anger when you had a bad day at work?" His face hardened. "What did you say?" "I said it's not fair to pour everything on me," she replied. "I'm not your punching bag." The words hung in the air like a spark. Adil pushed his chair back. standing up so fast it scraped across the floor. "Who do you think you are talking to me like that?" he shouted. Lina kept her back straight. Inside, she knew the cameras were recording every second from different angles. The button on her blouse, the one in the bookshelf, and even her phone hidden on the counter. "I'm your wife," she said clearly, "and I deserve respect." He stepped closer, furious. "You're nothing without me. Remember that. Don't you dare use that tone again." Lina took a single step back, not in fear, but to make sure her face was fully in view of the main camera. "Or what?" she asked quietly. Something snapped in his expression. But before he could say anything else, there was a knock at the door. 3 firm knocks. Adil froze. "Who is that?" Lina didn't look away from him. "Why don't you find out?" she said. He stomped to the door and yanked it open. Standing there were Hannah, 2 officers, and Rhea. Rhea looked healthier now. Still a bit fragile, but her eyes were steady. She met Lina's gaze over Adil's shoulder, and Lina gave the smallest nod. "Can I help you?" Adil asked, forcing a polite smile as he noticed the uniforms. "Good evening," one of the officers said. "We're here to talk to you about a report concerning possible harm inside this household." Adil laughed, a nervous sound. "This must be a mistake. Everything is fine. Isn't that right, Rhea?" He turned toward the woman he thought was his wife, only to see 2 of them. His face went pale. Lina stepped forward, standing beside Rhea. They looked almost identical, except Lina's expression was calm and unafraid. "What is this?" Adil whispered. "What's going on?" "This," Hannah said, stepping into the room, "is the truth finally catching up with you." The officers entered. One of them held a tablet. "We've seen the videos," he said. "The recordings of your behavior. The threats. The way you tried to control and intimidate your wife?" Adil shook his head rapidly. "No, that's private." "She can't record me like that," Hannah answered. "She recorded you in her own home, for her own safety. That is allowed here, especially when there is a reasonable fear of harm." Rhea's voice shook, but she spoke up. "You told me no one would believe me," she said. "You were wrong." Adil looked from one twin to the other, breathing hard. "So which one? Who have I been living with?" Lina stepped closer. "Me," she said. "I'm the sister who isn't afraid of you." His mouth opened and closed like he couldn't find words. "You tricked me," he finally said. "You tricked everyone," Lina replied. "You pretended to be a loving husband in public while treating my sister like she was nothing in private." The officer cleared his throat. "Sir, we need you to come with us to answer some questions. You are not under arrest at this moment, but your cooperation is required." Adil looked around, panic rising. For the first time, the confident mask he always wore completely cracked. "Please," he said, voice small. He looked directly at Rhea. "Tell them it's not that serious. Tell them I didn't mean it." Rhea's eyes filled with tears, but she did not move toward him. "You always say you don't mean it," she whispered. "But you keep doing it." He turned to Lina instead. You did this. Please don't ruin my life." "I can change." Lina took a deep breath. Her hands were shaking slightly, but her voice stayed steady. "I didn't ruin your life," she said. "You did that yourself. I just turned on the lights so everyone could see it." As the officers gently guided him toward the door, Adil's shoulders slumped. His voice broke. "Please," he repeated, almost in a whisper now. "Have mercy." Lina watched him go, feeling a strange mix of sadness and relief. She hadn't needed to raise a hand against him. She had only needed to tell the truth and make sure it couldn't be ignored. And now, the man who once made her sister feel powerless was the one standing outside in the rain, begging. After that night, everything changed. Rhea stayed with Lina while the case moved forward. There were meetings with lawyers, statements to the police, and long days filled with questions. It was tiring and sometimes painful, but this time Rhea wasn't alone. Whenever she felt overwhelmed, Lina was beside her. Hannah was there too, guiding them through every step. The recordings made a difference. They showed Adil's pattern of behavior, his threats, his attempts to control every part of Rhea's life, his anger when she tried to stand up for herself. Even people who had once called him such a nice guy couldn't deny what they saw on the screen. In the end, the court put a strict order in place. Adil was not allowed to contact Ria at all. He had to move out of the apartment and attend counseling programs. There were consequences now, real ones. Ria cried when the decision was read, but her tears were different this time. They were tears of release. "I keep waiting to feel guilty," she admitted one evening as they sat on Lina's balcony. "But I don't, not anymore. I just feel lighter." "You didn't do anything wrong," Lina reminded her gently. "You survived. And then you chose yourself. That's something to be proud of." Ria looked at her sister with gratitude. "You risked so much for me." Lina shook her head. "I didn't risk you," she said. "I protected you. And I had protection too. Hana, the cameras, the truth. We planned it." Ria smiled softly. "You always were the brave one." "No," Lina replied. "Real bravery is living through what you lived through and still being able to trust again. That's you." The weeks that followed were not perfect. Ria struggled with nightmares and sudden fear when she heard a loud voice. But she started seeing a therapist who specialized in helping people who had gone through what she had. She joined a support group where others shared their stories. For the first time, she realized she wasn't the only one. Little by little, she started to rebuild her life. She found a part-time job at a small shop. The owner was kind and patient, letting her take breaks when she needed to breathe. She learned how to manage her own money, open her own account, make her own choices. One afternoon, as they walked through the park, Ria turned to Lina. "Do you ever regret it?" she asked. "Switching places with me?" Lina thought for a moment. "No," she said. "Seeing how he treated you up close, it hurt. But it also removed any doubt I ever had. I know now without question that you deserve better. And now you know it too." Ria nodded slowly. "I used to think love meant staying no matter what. Now I know love can also mean leaving." "Exactly," Lina said. They passed a mother playing with her child on the grass. The child laughed loudly, chasing bubbles in the air. For a second, Ria watched them with a mix of sadness and hope. "Do you think I'll ever trust someone again?" she asked quietly. Lina smiled. "I think one day, someone will come into your life who doesn't want to own you or change you. Someone who just wants to walk beside you. And when that happens, you'll know what real love feels like." Ria looked at her sister. "Until then, I'm glad I have you." "You always will," Lina replied. As the sun began to set, painting the sky in soft colors, Ria took a deep breath and closed her eyes. The memory of what she had gone through would always be a part of her story. But it no longer defined her. She was not the bruises. She was not the fear. She was not the words that had been thrown at her in anger. She was a woman who had survived, who had chosen herself, and who had a sister willing to stand in the fire with her. And somewhere in a quiet file, saved on a secure drive, the recordings remained, not as a reminder of pain, but as proof that the truth had finally spoken louder than the lies. For Lina and Ria, this was not just the end of a dark chapter. It was the beginning of a life where neither of them would ever be silent again.